Howdy, my name's Kay Britton. I'm a multidisciplinary artist, and today I'm going to show you how I created this simple Uno deck pouch. So I'm following a simple tutorial I made a couple years ago for a tarot deck that's very similar to this. So this tutorial is very customizable. You can do it for any card size or any deck size. I used the Uno box to create a new template for this specific Uno deck, and I laid that on top of my rainbow cotton fabric, and then I cut out a little bit extra outside of the template because you need room for your seam allowance. And I placed the front side of the cotton to the front side of the red satin. Satin is also really slippery, so it makes it a lot easier to just sew the cotton on top of a rectangle of satin rather than cutting it down to this exact same shape and getting them to match up. Your best bet is to sew the cotton on top and cut away the excess satin afterwards. I sewed around the outer perimeter of the pattern with a straight stitch. You can see that here. I left the top open so that we can flip the fabric inside out, but first we're going to cut away the excess satin. We're also going to trim the corners on this fabric, and basically that's to make the corners less bulky when they're flipped inside out. And then you also want to snip a little angle on these inside corners to make it easier to turn inside out. Make sure not to cut those threads either. You want to stay just enough outside where you're not cutting the thread. So this is the fabric turned inside out, and I have an iron, so I'm going to go ahead and just give this a little press, and it looks much nicer. You don't have to do this if you don't have an iron, but I'm doing it. So now I am cutting out fabric basically the exact same way we did initially to make a little tab flap lid cover and snipping out the excess fabric. It's probably the same size as a card. And now I'm going to go ahead and flip this inside out and give this a press on my iron as well. So this part is a little confusing, but basically we want to put that lid flap cover at 1.5 inches away from the left seam, which is where the bottom tab is as well. So we want those two pieces to be aligned, and we're sandwiching the bottom of that piece in between the rolled hem of the top seam. So I've pinned that all in place, and basically I'm just going to go across with a straight stitch to close up the top where we flipped the bag inside out, and that is going to attach the lid to the pouch. And here's what the pouch looks like in action. So here you can really do any type of closure. I would have liked to use Velcro for this, but I definitely forgot I didn't have any, so I'm seam ripping a little hole to thread some ribbon in, sewing that down, and then sewing a button for a closure loop. Now, if I would have realized I didn't have Velcro before, what I should have done, don't make my mistake, but I should have sewn in this ribbon loop while I was making the satchel cover. So I've gone ahead and used a straight stitch to attach the ribbon to the satchel cover, and then I've just hand sewn the button to the back side, the inner lining of the pouch. So now we're really close to being finished. All we have to do is close the perimeter of the pouch. So we're going to do this in 2 L-shaped hems, and we're going to do this with the inside out of the bag out. So the red satin is going to face out, and the rainbow cotton is going to face inwards. Here's what that first L-shape / corner hem should look like, and we just have one more to finish the pouch. I should mention too that these seams on the inside of the bag, you want them to be very thin seam allowance because you don't want it to be super bulky. So I'm sewing with a very small edge here, as you can see, and I'm just doing another straight stitch. So once you take that off the machine, this is what you should be left with. So this is the inside of the bag, and we just have to flip it inside out. And here she is. So this is the bag finished. and I think it looks really nice. I'm really happy I went with this rainbow cotton fabric because I think it kind of emulates the colors of Uno really well, and I'm really happy with the yellow button and the yellow thread too. So please keep in mind this is just my method of making these pouches. There's definitely better tutorials out there and better ways of making them that make them look more professional, but this is just how I make them. Please let me know if you use this method to make your own pouch. I would definitely love to see it. So I hope this tutorial helped you in some way, and thanks so much for watching.